in this lesson, I want to bridge any gaps and not make any assumptions. In the last lesson, we talked about choosing your hosting plan, mentioning that you need a hosting plan that does support WordPress, because with WordPress, that's how we're going to ultimately build our law firm's website. Super important. And so in the next lesson, we're going to talk about how we can use WordPress in order to build that website. The step in between is getting WordPress installed for that all to happen. Now, these days, from what I've seen, getting WordPress installed is super simple. As we talked about and as we went over in the last lesson with GoDaddy in particular, it's one-click installation with WordPress. Now, I don't want to make any assumptions here to where if you're not comfortable with going through the process alone, if you want a little bit of hand-holding, totally fine. I get it. I'm the paranoid person that always assumes I'm going to do something incorrectly. Last thing I want to do is to lead you astray by not covering something. So with this lesson, assuming that you ended up going with GoDaddy, let's go ahead and kind of go step by step with how you can get WordPress set up in a surefire way. Now, the tricky part that I have here on my end is that I already have hosting with GoDaddy, and I already have for all of my websites WordPress set up. But in order to help make this beneficial for you, I went ahead and deleted and uninstalled WordPress from TexasClassActionLawyer.com, which is going to be the example that we're going to be using and going through. It's basically going to be our guinea pig here. And so what I plan on doing at this point is showing you what I see on my end. Now, if this is your first time buying a domain and buying hosting through GoDaddy, you may see a slightly separate option, but what I'm going to do on my end is to help kind of walk you through maybe the surefire way in order to make sure you get it set up. But if you see something different on your end, just try and figure out exactly if you need to be matching up the principles that we're talking about in this lesson. So let's get started. And as you can see here, we have the GoDaddy home screen. I'm hoping by the time you're watching this, the home screen doesn't change, but I think you'll get the point with what we end up doing. So since I am at this point a current customer of GoDaddy, I typically go over to my profile, go down to my products, and click that. The next step for me is to always scroll down and go to web hosting, open up that little tab or that little caret to see your options. And as you can see here, you can see my hosting plan. It's the enhanced plan, the business hosting plan, and I have it for 1 year. That's what we talked about in the last lesson. And underneath the plan, you can see jarrettstone.com. As we talked about in the last lesson, with business plans, you can have an unlimited amount of domains connected to your hosting. Now with jarrettstone.com, that's kind of my personal brand account that I've neglected and kind of put on the back burner because I've been focusing on the law firm and law venture and haven't really focused on the personal brand quite yet. But because that is the personal brand, I made that let's say the big umbrella domain, and all of my other domains that I own are under that umbrella. From the perspective of the traffic, it doesn't make much of a difference, but the point here is that whenever you see jarrettstone.com involving the hosting, that's just because that's the main umbrella that we're working with here. But in your situation, if you only have one domain, then that's going to be the main umbrella. Or if you have multiple domains, then you'll have to choose which one is the main one. And then you'll have, I think it's called subdomains for your other domain addresses and names. But again, for the purpose of traffic of people who are going to these websites, they're not going to know the difference. This is all a matter of really having a clean filing system on the back end, which we'll kind of cover in future lessons. So at this point, click Manage. As you can see here, we have TexasClassActionLawyer.com. This website has already been added because I've had this website domain name for a long time, but if yours isn't showing up, you may just need to come up here and click Add Website. And once you do add the website, you can do exactly what I do, which is install application. So let's click that. And the handy dandy Installatron pops up. And what we want to do at this point is scroll down to WordPress blog. That takes us to this kind of sales page, so to speak, even though it's free. It gives you a little bit of a hint of what WordPress is. We don't really care about all this. What we want to do is install this application. And then now it's a matter of choosing the domain. This may automatically populate with exactly what you want, or you may have to drop down and choose the domain you want to work with. As you can see here, I have options and different variations of TexasClassActionLawyer.com to choose. I want to be able to choose the HTTPS because, like we talked about earlier, that's the SSL certificate, and that's exactly where we're going to be redirecting all these other variations to. I also prefer not to have the www. I think the TexasClassActionLawyer.com by itself looks a lot cleaner. And what I plan on doing is deleting the blog. And one thing I do want to point out with these updates is you want to maybe shy away from having automatic updates. As convenient as it may sound, with automatic updates, if that ends up occurring, then you run the risk of certain apps that you're using on your site, aka plugins, not being compatible with either one another or with WordPress itself. As a result, it's always better to make sure you control everything, you control the situation. The last thing you want is to have compatibility issues, and as a result of compatibility issues, your website stops functioning, and that's a huge headache. If anything, you want to be able to back up your website in advance to you updating things, and in doing so, if things do go awry, if your website is having major issues, then you can just simply implement that backup that you already made. So with these settings, I typically try not to mess with them. Speaking of settings, let's go to the administrator username setting and password. This is what you're going to use to log into your website through WordPress. And this is something that you want to be able to, remember, because this is going to be extremely important. So I'm going to go ahead and update my information, and that way I'm able to take care of everything I need to take care of as the admin of this website. So after you've set up your username and your password, and by the way, make sure it's a strong password because you're the admin, you control the website. The last thing you want is for somebody to hack your website using a weak password that somehow works and thereby have control of your entire website. That's not good. That is no bueno. And once you've taken care of that, also consider what the administrator email is going to be. This is going to be your email, and typically this is going to be the email that's basically going to be your profile if you are leaving comments or responding to comments. This will also be the email, typically, depending on your settings, that your contact forms, whenever they are filled out, will reach out to. So if you have your email put in here, then if somebody on your website fills out a contact form, then the result of that contact form and all of its information is typically going to go to the administrator's email, or at the very least, administrator email also gets notifications when certain things pop up. But we'll cover those in greater detail as we go along. My little disclaimer here is I actually don't use my law firm's email or my email through my law firm as the administrator email. The reason for that is, one, I try and keep the techie stuff separate from the law stuff, but at the same time, I could see how people would want to see their contact form replies or responses in their email that's connected with their law firm because, hey, this is a potential case. I get that 100%. My only hesitance with that approach, and the reason why I kind of use a quote burner email that I don't really publicize, is because I don't want someone to somehow get a hold of my law firm email and just spam me all the time, and then somehow it turns up to show up on a spam list of sorts. And it's nice to have a law firm email that is solely devoted to law. And so my point here is consider that. And if you have a separate Gmail account of sorts that you want to use and that you're pretty good with checking, then that may be something to consider. But again, use your judgment on what you think is going to be best in your situation. Now, with the website title, I just put in my law firm's name And I am not going to put a website tagline because, in all honesty, it's not really going to show up once we're all said and done with this website build. So I just went ahead and deleted it. And then with two-factor authentication, we want to keep that disabled at this point, but we'll enable it in a different way down the road whenever we're talking about security. But we're not going to cover that quite yet. So keep that disabled via this particular page. Yes, you do want to limit login attempts. The reason why this is recommended, and again, we'll talk about this whenever we talk about security down the road, is because, and I had no idea this was a thing until very recently, what people do, and it blows my mind that this is a thing, is that they will run computers and algorithms across the web and try and automatically through these computers guess what your login information is. And they are doing this with the computer at a very high speed and mass volume. And so sometimes it's only a matter of time until they can guess your password. And every time they incorrectly guess the password, it's considered a failed login attempt. Now, if you can limit the failed login attempts that eventually maybe lock that IP address out, then that's going to better protect your website. We'll talk about that again in greater detail as we go along throughout this course. But for now, let's go ahead and keep that selected as yes. And then I selected no for the enable multi-site. I think we're good to go. I think we're ready to install. So I'm going to click install right here. Okay, so it takes us to a page where we see the installation process has begun and it has completed. The next step is to click right here where it says texasclassactionlawyer.com/WP-admin, and that is going to log you into your website to be able to be the administrator, to be the one who's the puppet master, to be able to control and edit your website. And so just for future reference, whenever you are trying to go back and edit your website from this point forward, this is, for now, going to be the URL that allows you to do that. To where once you click this link, it takes you to, actually, this is new, it takes you to this option of being able to choose templates. But we don't need a template in this situation because we have our own website builder that we'll be using. So let's go ahead and ignore all of this, come down to this bottom left, and choose Use Default WordPress. Yes, I'm sure. I'm just going to go ahead and skip this little poll here. Okay, so we are in the website. This is the back end of the website, or a version of the back end of the website that people don't see whenever they go on websites. Let's take a look at what texasclassactionlawyer.com looks like right now. Yeah, that's not good. That doesn't look good, but that's where we're at this point. We're at the beginning stages. We have something to build upon. So if we go back up to the top, go to dashboard, takes us back to be able to control on the back end. As you can see over here, we have updates that can be done. So we'll click over on this button. Oh, it looks like another update is needed. So what we can do is select all, click update plugins. And by the way, plugins are the equivalent of apps on your website. There's another set of 2 updates that are needed. These are the themes that we'll eventually delete, but for now, let's just go ahead and update it so everything's optimized. So like we talked about, if we go to our domain address /WP-admin like this, then that'll take us to the window or the screen that we need to see in order to log in order to be able to access WordPress once we end up closing out. And the point of me opening up Google Chrome is to open up an incognito window. That way you know there are no cookies going on at this point in time. So whenever I click enter like I am right now, this requires me to log in. And so we want to go ahead and just test out our username and password. Click login. And boom, it worked on the incognito screen on Google Chrome. So the password and username is good to go. So it's time to celebrate because we officially have a website. And it really didn't take that long in order to get the website up and running. But I wouldn't celebrate too much at this point because while we do have a website, it's not a good one. if people were to go to this website right now, they would not be impressed. They'd probably be turned off by the website. And so at this point, in order to get your law firm's website up and running properly, be sure to check out the next lessons, because in the next lessons, we're going to talk about security, we're going to talk about building this website, and we're also going to be talking about how you can take that legal website to the next level. But until then, if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, concerns, be sure to leave those in the comment section down below. As always, if you're watching this on YouTube, head over to lawventure.com, check out this course. That way you can get all the extra information that's available within the lessons themselves.